Hello everyone, welcome back. Moving on towards the next component of removal partial dentures, that is indirect retainers. Now what is the definition of it? So it is a part of removal partial denture which assists the direct retainer. Now we have seen in the direct retainer that what your direct retainer it does, it retains the denture as the name says. So now indirect retainers are also the same, that it retains the denture and it prevents the displacement of the denture. But now over here they are assisting the direct retainer, hence they are indirect retainer. So it assists the direct retainer in preventing the displacement of distal extension denture bases. Now, what is your distal extension denture base? So, it is nothing but Kennedy's class 1 and class 2, in which there are no posterior teeth which are present behind the edentulous space. So, this is your class 2, where there is unilateral edentulous space in which there are no teeth present posterior to it. So, in this, now the indirect retainer, so it prevents the displacement of such distal extension denture bases. So, what it does is, so it functions through a lever action on opposite side of the fulcrum line. So what is a fulcrum line? Fulcrum line is nothing but it is an imaginary line through which your denture it tends to rotate. Now over here, this is your fulcrum line. So now in this case, so if you don't have an indirect retainer, there are chances that your denture, it will rotate and it will get displaced. So to prevent that, we use this direct retainer. So in this, what you do is, now you draw a perpendicular line to this fulcrum line. At the midpoint of this fulcrum line, now over here, this is a perpendicular line. So this is the indirect retainer that you place on this perpendicular line so that your denture it is not getting rotated. So now what are the functions of this indirect retainer? So the primary function, that is the main function of this indirect retainer, is to stabilize the denture by moving the fulcrum line away from the point of application of force. Now over here, this is your fulcrum line. So if the forces they are applied near to this fulcrum line, then your denture it is going to get rotated. So in this indirect retainer, what it does is, so it moves this fulcrum line away from the point of application, thereby it stabilizes the denture. So this is the main function of your indirect retainer. The next or the auxiliary functions or accessory or extra functions of this indirect retainer are, it acts as an auxiliary guiding plane, then it spins the anterior tooth against the lingual movement, then it acts as an auxiliary rest to support the major connector, then it may provide first indication to reline and extension base. So if you want to go for relining and rebasing, so this like indirect retainer, it is the first indication to reline and extension base. Then it counteracts the horizontal forces. So over here, if there are any horizontal forces, so this indirect retainer, it counteracts those forces. So it provides stability and support to the denture by counteracting this horizontal forces. Then it provides lateral stability, and it acts as a third point of contacting the tooth surface to ensure accurate repositioning of the framework on the tooth during rebasing and relining. So over here, when you go for relining and rebasing, so this indirect retainer, it acts as a point through which you can place the denture properly again at its place. So these are the various functions of indirect retainer. The main function is stabilizing the denture. So now how is the mode of action? That is, now if there's a distal extension case, so there are chances that a distal extension case, it moves because of three type of forces. So in this classification, you can see, so there is movement of distal extension denture base, which is towards the tissue or away from the tissue. So if it is towards the tissue, so it is prevented with the help of rest and rest seats. So now your like RPD, it has those rests. So those rest, it prevents the movement of the distal extension denture base towards the tissue. Now, if there is movement which is away from the tissue, that means it is towards the teeth. So in that also you have two things, that is the denture, it gets displaced entirely, and there is a rotational movement about an axis, that is your fulcrum line, that your denture it moves in the, or it tends to rotate. So that rotational movement, it is prevented with the help of your indirect retainer. So your indirect retainer, it like prevents the displacement of the denture in the rotational motion. And over here, if there is displacement of the entire denture, so that is prevented by the other retentive components of your RPD. So this is the mode of action, like basically how your denture base it moves, distal extension denture base it moves, and how it can be prevented with the help of different type of components. Now, what are the fulcrum lines? So fulcrum line is nothing but it is an imaginary line around which a partial denture it tends to rotate. Now over here, this is your fulcrum line. So this fulcrum line is nothing but this is the line in which your denture it can rotate. So fulcrum line, it passes through the terminal abutment. So over here, now these are your abutments. So these are the like last or the terminal abutment So this fulcrum line, it passes around this terminal abutment. So now there are two types of fulcrum line, that is a retentive fulcrum line and stabilizing fulcrum line. So retentive is an imaginary line which is connecting the retentive points of the clasp arm, that is your direct retainer. So retentive, as the name says, so it is a line which is connecting the retentive part of your clasp, around which the denture tends to rotate when they are subjected to the force such as pull of the sticky food. So over here, this retentive fulcrum line is nothing but when you eat something sticky. So there are chances that your denture, it gets displaced with that forces. Now stabilizing fulcrum line is an imaginary line which is connecting the occlusal rest. So retentive, it connects the retentive points of your direct retainer, and stabilizing is the one which connects the occlusal rest around which the denture tends to rotate when it is subjected to masticatory forces. So over here, like you have to remember that retentive, it connects the retentive point and hence it is known as retentive, and it like moves or it tends to rotate the denture when you eat something sticky. And stabilizing is connects the occlusal rest and it is like tend to rotate when you're like masticating. So these are your fulcrum line and the types of your fulcrum line. Now, where exactly is the location of the fulcrum line for the different classes of RPD? Now, we know we have 4 Kennedy's classes. So, in class 1, it is like a bilateral edentulous space which is present posterior to the remaining natural teeth. So, in class 1, your fulcrum line, it passes through the most posterior abutment. So, these are your posterior abutment. The fulcrum line, it passes through that abutment in class 1. So, here now you can see this is a bilateral edentulous space. Now, class 2 is when there is unilateral edentulous space. So in this, it passes diagonally through the most posterior teeth on one side and a abutment on a distal extension side. So over here now this is a class 2, whereas over here now you can see this is a modification, but we are going to consider it as a class 2 as we have seen in the Applegate's rule. So over here now in class 2, this fulcrum line, it is passing diagonally through the most posterior teeth. Now over here this is a most posterior teeth. So from here it passes to this abutment on this distal extension side. So this is the like fulcrum line for your class 2. Now in class 3, it passes through the two principal abutments. So class 3 is nothing but in which the edentulous space, it is present anterior. So in that basically anterior and posterior teeth are present and your like edentulous space, it is present in between that. So in this also it is a diagonal and it passes through two principal abutment. And in class 4, it is when when your edentulous space is present anterior to the remaining natural teeth. So in class 4, it passes through two abutment which is adjacent to your edentulous space. So this is the fulcrum line for your class 4 when you're like in which the fulcrum line, it is present adjacent to your edentulous space. So now how is the principle of indirect retainer, that exactly how your indirect retainer it works. So basically we have seen that it prevents the displacement of the denture. So now how? Now over here this is an example. So this is a long bar and over here it is like supported by a single support. So there are chances like when you apply force on one end, then the other end of this bar, it will go up. This is the same mechanism that you see in the seesaw. So this is the thing in which there is a single support. So when the forces are applied, so this is like if you consider if there's only a direct retainer. So when the forces are applied, so the forces can be any type of forces, that can be a masticatory, lateral forces, horizontal forces. So when the forces are applied and if your denture, it has only direct retainer, so this is only a single support, there are chances that your denture, it will rotate. Now for example over here this is a bar. So this is a long bar and it is supported by two supports. So over here for example now this is your direct retainer and this is your indirect retainer. So when the forces are applied, so now this long bar, it won't get rotated because it is supported by two things. So this is the same mechanism for your indirect retainer, that when it supports, so when the denture, it is supported by also an indirect retainer, so it is not getting rotated. So this is the like basic principle of your indirect retainer, that it assists the direct retainer and prevents the displacement of the denture. So now what are the principles for using this indirect retainer? So this indirect retainer, they are used when more than one fulcrum line is present. Then it can be placed as far as possible from the distal extension base for better advantage. So now in this, now you have to see that whenever you are fabricating a denture and whenever you are making this indirect retainer, you have to see that the indirect retainer, it is placed as far as possible from that edentulous space. Then most effective location for your indirect retainer is the incisor region for your distal extension, because now you can see your distal extension is present posteriorly, and incisor, they are very far from that posterior edentulous space. But now over here, now this incisor, they are not having that good strength. So because of that, you use a premolar for the indirect retention. Then whenever possible, two indirect retainers closer to the fulcrum line, they are taken to compensate for the compromise in distance. So whenever it is possible, you can take two indirect retainer which is closer to the fulcrum line. So these are the basic principle for using a indirect retainer, like how you should use your indirect retainer. So now what are the factors which affects the effectiveness of the indirect retainer? So there are basically four factors, that is the effectiveness of the direct retainer in order to get a proper functioning of your indirect retainer. That means your direct retainer, it should be very good to get a proper indirect retainer. The next one is the distance from the fulcrum line. So now we have already seen that your indirect retainer, it should be placed as far as possible from your fulcrum line to get a proper advantage. And one more over here, so one more factor is, so your indirect retainer, it should be placed on a perpendicular line which is drawn at a midpoint to this fulcrum line. So we have already seen about this in the definition, that over here now this is your fulcrum line, and over here this is a perpendicular line which is drawn at a midpoint of this fulcrum line. So your indirect retainer, it should be placed on this perpendicular line. Over here now you can see this is a canine and this is the indirect retainer which is placed on the canine. So this is a line, perpendicular line, which is like drawn from this fulcrum line, and your indirect retainer, it is placed on this perpendicular line only. Then the next factor is the rigidity of the connectors which is supporting the indirect retainer. So it says that your indirect retainer or your connectors, they should be rigid enough to get a proper effectiveness of the indirect retainer. Then the effectiveness of the supporting tooth surface. So indirect retainer, it should be placed on the definite rest seat. So the tooth incline and the weak teeth, it should not be used for the support. So that means now when you're using this indirect retainer, when you're placing the indirect retainer, then it should be placed on a very good rest seat. So these are the four factors that can affect the indirect retainer. Now, what are the various types of indirect retainers? Now, there's a very long list for your types of indirect retainers. So those are the auxiliary occlusal rest. Now, you know what occlusal rest is. So we have already seen in the video of rest and restes. So in this, it is like the indirect retainer can be an auxiliary occlusal rest. Then there can be a canine extension from this auxiliary rest, then a canine rest, then a continuous bar retainer or a modification areas, rugae support, direct, indirect retention, then indirect retention from the major connectors, then incisal rest, embrasure hook, or a double lingual bar. So these are the various types of indirect retainer. Now we're going to see each one of them, like whatever is required if you get a question on this indirect retainer to write. So I'm going to explain whatever is required. Now the first one is the auxiliary occlusal rest. So this occlusal rest, it is most frequently used as an indirect retainer. Now we know that we place a occlusal rest. So this is a basic component of your RPT that we have already seen. So what you do in this indirect retainer is you place an extra occlusal rest to get that proper indirect retention support. So it is located on the occlusal surface which is far away from the distal extension denture base. So we are placing it as far as possible. Now the ideal location is a central incisor, but now as a central incisor, it is a weak tooth. So it has a single root and it is not like that strong to work as an rest. So what you do is you place the rest on the first premolars. So now the rest on the premolars, they do not even interfere with the tongue movements. And when it is a class 1, so what you do is you place bilateral rest on the premolars, and when it is class 2, so what you do is you place a rest on first premolar on the opposite side of your edentulous space. So this is about the auxiliary occlusal rest. Now the next one is the canine extension from the occlusal rest. Now we have seen that in the occlusal rest, so we are placing the occlusal rest on the first premolar. So now it is known as canine extension because now you make an extension out of this occlusal rest on the canine. So it consists of a finger extension from the first premolar rest. So over here, this is your first premolar rest. So you make this finger extension on the canine, and hence it is known as a canine extension. Now, when can you use this canine extension from the occlusal rest? So it can be used when your first premolar is the primary abutment. So what is a primary abutment? Primary abutment is nothing but a tooth which is used for the direct support of your prosthesis. So you can use this canine extension when your first premolar is the primary abutment. So this design, it avoids the tipping action which is produced in a single cingulum canine rest. So if you use a single cingulum canine rest, so there are chances that your denture, it can get tipped. So this canine extension from the occlusal rest, it prevents that tipping movement. The next one is the canine rest, or it is known as the cingulum rest or the lingual rest. Now, when are you using this canine rest? So it is used when the mesial marginal ridge of the first premolar is close to the fulcrum line. So in that case, you go for a canine rest. Now, in this design, what you do is you place a minor connector anterior to the canine to increase the efficacy of the indirect retainer. So this is the next, that is your canine rest. Now the next one is the continuous bar retainer and the linguoplate. So now in this continuous bar retainer and the linguoplate, they themselves can be acted as an indirect retainers. So now as they rest on the unprepared lingual surface, they indirectly provide the indirect retention. Now whenever you are making this, so you have to see that they should never be placed above the middle third of the teeth to avoid the tooth movement. So basically it is like the continuous bar retainer and the linguoplate, they can act as an indirect retainer. The next one is the modification area. Now we know what are the modification area. So we have seen about that. So modification area are nothing but the extra edentulous space which is present rather than the one which determines the classification. So in this, the occlusal rest on the secondary abutment in class 2 modification 1, it serves as an indirect retainer. So what you do is you place occlusal rest on a secondary abutment. So what is a secondary abutment? Secondary abutment is nothing but a tooth which is used for the support along with the primary abutment, but this secondary abutment, it does not provide the direct support. So what you do in this case is so you provide a occlusal rest on that secondary abutment in the case of class 2 modification 1. So this is a class 2 modification 1. So you give a occlusal rest on a secondary abutment. Now for example, if only one tooth is missing in the modification area, so over here only one tooth is missing, so in that case you give a occlusal rest on this side only, so to provide that support for the unsupported major connector. So this is about the modification area. Now the next one is the indirect retention from the major connector. Now in mandible, the retention from the denture base, it itself helps in the indirect retention. So now over here you're getting the indirect retention from your major connector. So when it is a mandible, so you get that retention from the denture base itself. Now for example, if it is a maxillary arch, so the full palatal coverage is necessary for the additional indirect retention, especially when only anterior teeth are present. So in that case, now what you do is the major connector, they are made such that it covers the entire palate, and that only gives a indirect retention, that only plays as an indirect retention. So it is obtained from the major connector's resistance to distortion. So basically it is like you're getting the indirect retention from your major connectors only. Now the next one are the Ruge support and the direct indirect retention. So Ruge support is nothing but when you take the Ruge for your indirect retention. So the Ruge area, it is firm, hence it can be used as an indirect retention, and it is used especially in the class 1 situation. So it can be used in the case of U-shaped design, but now this Ruge support, it is less effective than the tooth supported. So basically in this, what you do is you take the indirect retention from the Ruge rather than the tooth. And the next one is the direct indirect retention. So direct indirect is, now in this, the reciprocal arm of the direct retainer which is located anterior to the fulcrum line, it can act as an indirect retainer. So in this, now you know about the parts of your direct retainer, that it has that reciprocal arm, retentive arm. So in this type of indirect retainer, it is like the reciprocal arm of your direct retainer, it is only acting as an indirect retainer. So the next are the incisal rest, embrasure hook, and a double lingual bar or a Kennedy's bar. So in this double lingual bar or Kennedy's bar, so this double lingual bar itself is acting as an indirect retainer. Now the incisal rest, so when the mesial fossa of the first premolar, it is close to the fulcrum line, so in that case you give this incisal rest. But now this, like using an incisal rest as an indirect retainer, it produces a tipping force. So because of that, this three, they are very rarely used. And the next one is the embrasure hook. Now this embrasure hook, it is less desirable and it engages anterior interproximal area. So over here, this is your embrasure hook. So this is basically, this embrasure hook is acting as an indirect retainer, but now over here, this is anesthetic as the metal, it is exposed as it is placed in the anterior region. So because of that also, this embrasure hook is not very commonly used, and the most commonly used type of indirect retainer are your auxiliary occlusal rest or the other types. So this was all about the indirect retainer in depth. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, then please like, comment, share, and do subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much.